Happy Wednesday morning to you. Welcome in to another day of Morning JOX here on JOX 94.5. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell with you as we are each and every day here from 6 until 7 a.m. Recapping everything that you missed overnight in the world of sports and, of course, getting you set up for another great day here on JOX 94.5 because, of course, we are always followed by McElroy and Kublik in the morning from 7 to 10, then Three-Man Front will be coming up from 10 to 2, and, of course, Paul Feinbaum from 2 to 6 weekdays for you here on JOX 94.5. Well, we did have some more action in the world of the NBA last night, a couple of series going final. We have a couple of series getting extended there in the NBA postseason. You had the Braves kicking off the second game of their set against the Rockies as they continue to try to get back to 500. Did they get a step closer last night? We will break all of that down for you today as well. We also have some exciting news in the college football world and a team that I want to take a little bit of a look at today because this is a team that's in the SEC and a lot of people are jumping on the hype train for this team.
Oklahoma.
And it is not Oklahoma.
What?
But we got some good news yesterday, and we'll get into it. We'll get into it. That can be a little bit of a tease there, but there is one SEC team that got some exciting news yesterday, and I do want to talk about what we expect from them in the upcoming season. But first, we have to go over some of the things that you may have missed last night. So as I mentioned, the Atlanta Braves, as you could have heard here on JOX 94.5, they were taking on the Colorado Rockies in game 2 of their 3-game series there in Colorado last night. And Atlanta takes home an 8-2 victory over the Colorado Rockies. They are now 1 game closer to getting to 500. They're 14-15 on the season, have gotten their away record up to 6-12 on the season now for the Bravos. But you had AJ Smith-Shawver. He goes 5 1/3 strong innings for Atlanta last night, gives up 4 hits, 2 earned runs, strikes out 5 for Atlanta. You had Michael Harris Jr. coming up big with 3 RBIs for him. Austin Riley added a couple of RBIs as well, and the game really never in question there for the Atlanta Braves as they got up 2-0 early on the Rockies, and it was just kind of off to the races there for Atlanta. So another big win there for the Braves as they look to go for the sweep later on today against the Colorado Rockies, and of course then they will come back home to Atlanta where they will welcome in the Los Angeles Dodgers for what should be an excellent series there in Atlanta, especially with a team that seems to have found gotten kind of their swagger back a little bit. So Atlanta now 5-1 in their last 6 games, 9-2 in their last 11. That'll certainly work. That's the way that you turn around your season. So Atlanta now, again, they're in 3rd place in the National League East. They are 2 games behind the Philadelphia Phillies, 6.5 games behind the New York Mets as it stands right now. And a little bit of an earlier game today. You're going to have a 2:10 first pitch. So you'll be able to hear that on the JOX family of networks pregame show, going to get started a little before 2 o'clock there. So after you get done with us on Three-Man Front, you can either go listen to some guy named Paul Feinbaum that you may have heard of before, or you can go catch the Braves game. It's up to you. So you certainly have options there today, but congratulations to the Atlanta Braves on a big 8-2 victory there yesterday over the Colorado Rockies. You did have your Cardinals, or your Reds were taking on Pat Smith's Cardinals yesterday, Damian, but that game gets moved because of weather. So they're going to have a doubleheader today. So that's something for you to look forward to. If you stayed up late last night like me, and I had this game going on in the background, it really wasn't very entertaining. But you had the Dodgers, they crushed the Marlins last night 15-2. You had some high scoring games yesterday. The Rangers, they take down the Athletics 15-2. The Red Sox beat the Blue Jays 10-2 yesterday, and my New York Yankees beat the Orioles 15-3. Started off the game with back-to-back home runs yesterday, so that was certainly nice to see. But if you like offense, Cubs beat the Pirates 9-0. I mean, there's if you liked runs, yesterday was a good day for you in the world of Major League Baseball. So that is your Major League Baseball update for this morning here on Morning JOX. Quickly to the NBA real quick, letting you know what happened last night in some of these series. So you had, first off, you had the I guess the most dramatic game of the night, and what was a 119 to 118 overtime victory for the Pacers over the Bucks. So they eliminate the Bucks in the opening round of the postseason for the second year in a row. They win the series 4-1. Tyrese Halliburton takes it to Giannis in the final seconds there of overtime. Just straight up challenged him, got downhill, got a step on him, and laid it in, and that was all that she wrote there. And Giannis was about 3 seconds from sending Halliburton's dad to the hospital last night. So that was the fireworks there. But yeah, there was just, if you missed it, essentially what happened was Tyrese Halliburton, he goes down, he hits the game winner with, a second left. So the Bucks, they have to, shoot a full court shot. They miss it, and the Pacers win and clinch the series. And Tyrese Halliburton's dad literally walks out to half court and starts talking smack to Jan in the middle of the game. Like, the players are still walking off the court. He walks to mid court and just starts jawing at him. And I will give credit to Giannis for keeping his cool in that moment. And I mean, even after the game, Halliburton said in the press, he's like, no, my dad was wrong. Like, that was messed up by my dad to do that. But Giannis had every single right in the world, in my opinion, to pop him in the mouth. And you just saw the size comparison between those two guys, and that wasn't going to be very pretty for one of them, and it wasn't Giannis. That was embarrassing.
It was.
That kind of crap can't happen.
It was, and I think, like, again, credit to Giannis for keeping his composure, because one, you just lost the playoff series, all the emotions that's going on, and even Giannis said at the press conference, at first he was like, "Oh, this is a fan." And in the moment, he's realizing, like, oh, no, this is Tyrese Halliburton's dad. Like, hey, man, this is not the time. Now is not the time. This is not the place. Congratulations to your son, but this could have gone south rather quickly. Like,
and I wouldn't have had any problem with it.
None whatsoever.
You asked for it, buddy.
None whatsoever. It's the fact that Giannis hadn't dapped up a player or nothing. The first thing that he sees after the clock hits 0 is the man that just beat, like, the team that just beat him. You see the star player's dad walking towards you, and it's like you said, it could have gone south. We could have had a different conversation, because Giannis would have been in the right. You stepped into his arena. You stepped in between those lines and on the court. And if Giannis would have put his hands on you, I mean, the man's 7 foot, and they call him the Greek Freak for a reason. Like, it would have been quick work, and Tyrese Halliburton would have had to issue a statement again. Like, just, hey, I understand. Like you said, the emotions were high. I haven't really been that big of a Tyrese Halliburton fan, but I give him his respect because of what he did last night. Like, he didn't shy away from the moment. I think
he had the moment that he's needed to have.
Exactly. Like, a lot of it has been, okay, he's a lot of chatter, but he doesn't really back a lot of things up, because when you look at Indiana, yeah, they've had success, but they usually have quick exits, or they have, disappointments in the playoffs. But last night, I was like, okay, he's got it. Maybe that trip for him as a gold medalist on the U.S. Basketball team, maybe it lit a fire into him, and he's advancing. And now he has to take on the Cleveland Cavaliers, who what they've done to Miami in the 4 games that they played against them. It's gonna be, you got to keep that same energy for a 7-game series.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't a big fan seeing Halliburton on social media last night going and posting after the game, like, call that overrated and thing. I'm like,
because he still is.
It's like, all right,
you still are.
You had your one moment, and that's great, and it's better to have one than none. But maybe let's stack a couple of these big moments on top of each other before we're gonna go and talk trash, because we do all remember all the other times that you have not shown up. So, but that was really the big excitement. Those were the big fireworks there, as Giannis and Tyrese Halliburton's dad went at it on the court there post game. But the Pacers, they move on, so they knock off the Bucks in 5 games. You had the Pistons, they take down the Knicks 106-103. They extend that series out to Game 6, so the Knicks up 3-2 in that one. You had the Celtics, they knock off the Orlando Magic. They won by 31 last night, 120-89. Jason Tatum had 35 points, 8 rebounds, 10 assists there for the defending champions last night. And then finally, you had the Nuggets taking down the Clippers to send that game to Game 6. So Denver now with a 3-2 lead in that series. Jamal Murray had 43 points last night in a massive game there for Denver. So that is your NBA postseason update there as things continue to chug along in the first round. You do have a pair of games tonight on the West Coast. You got the Warriors taking on the Rockets. If the Warriors win, they will move on and eliminate the Rockets. And the Timberwolves and the Lakers, the late game at 9. And if the Timberwolves win, they will send LeBron and Luka packing in the first round of the NBA playoffs. So Lakers been a little bit of a disappointment here in the first round, but they've got time to turn that around. Or we could see Anthony Edwards, which, I mean, again, I'm not going to complain if we get to watch more Anthony Edwards in the postseason. That is a pretty fun guy to watch if you haven't. So that's what you got coming your way in the NBA as well. So we just try to keep you up to date on everything going on around in the world of sports. So again, I just encourage, if you're one of those people at this time of the year that you find yourself going, man, there's just nothing going on in sports, or maybe, you're still trying to convince yourself that the Braves are right on the back track again. And you're, watch an NBA playoff game. I promise you're not going to be disappointed. Well, you might be disappointed actually, but it's not as bad as everyone makes it out to be.
It's not.
I just feel like it's our service because I know a lot of our coworkers don't watch the NBA playoffs, and so it's like it's entertaining. It really is. Give it a try. Don't knock it till you try it. But we do have a little bit of news coming out of the transfer portal as well that I wanted to pass along from a team here in the state of Alabama. So again, as we know, the college football portal closed on Friday. But the way that some of these things work when you file things, especially let's say you're one of the guys that files late on a Friday, well, you're going into the weekend and somebody's got to file the paperwork. So maybe it doesn't get done until Monday. Well, maybe they come in on Monday and, they've got some other things that they got to catch up on from last week. And so then the paperwork doesn't really get filed until Tuesday, or that's when, somebody actually notices it and it becomes official. But you did have another Auburn player enter the transfer portal yesterday in tight end Rico Walker. So he is a former 4-star recruit there for the Auburn Tigers. So again, just, names can still trickle in and out here a little bit. But yeah, he's a former 4-star recruit transferred over from Maryland. He has decided to go back into the transfer portal, and somebody that was figured with fair weather on his way out was maybe going to have a little bit more of a role this year for Auburn, but maybe that's not the way that it's played out for him in spring. And so he finds himself on the way out. But again, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Don's going to call in here and tell me that this guy was going to be the next Brock Bowers or something. But, I feel like you're probably okay.
Right. Yeah. It's the spring portal. He'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean,
it's okay.
Not a knock on him or anything. It's just, all right, you're going in the portal on the last day. Like,
yeah, you kind of read the room a little bit. You probably thought you were going to get a little bit more reps in spring and didn't really go as planned. And so you just find yourself on the way out. That's the thing about the transfer portal. It's always open at this point.
It certainly is always open. They're more than happy to take you. And I do find it interesting, though, as a quick side note, because we talked about this a little bit on 3-Man Front yesterday, but just each year, how the number of people getting in the portal continues to grow, but yet the amount of money that these people are asking for continues to grow. And you just kind of, you stop and think for a second. You go, at some point, are we not going to understand that if it's costing more money for the same production that it was 2 years ago, why are we putting more of our names in the portal? I guess it's more of a lottery ticket thing at this point, right? Is, well, if I get brought out of the portal, I'm going to make a lot of money. But if I don't get brought out, well, then I kind of overplayed my hand and here I am. So I just think it's interesting that as we continue to pay these kids more and more money and these budgets continue to get tighter and tighter at these programs, more kids earning the transfer portal. And so there's less opportunities ultimately for something to happen. But we'll see what happens with Rico Walker. Last year had 4 catches for 27 yards. That was back in 2023 for Maryland. He had 4 catches for 27 yards and played in 8 games there for the Terrapins. So potentially a depth piece there coming out of the portal, but he will have to go out of the SEC if he wants to play this year. So that's the latest out of the transfer portal. But as I teased at the beginning of the show, we did get some good news for one team in the SEC, and it's a team that a lot of people are really high on going into 2025. So what is that good news? What is the team, and what are our expectations for them? We will break it all down for you when we return here on the Wednesday edition of Morning JOX. Well, there's certainly a team in the SEC that's happy their quarterback is back moving. Welcome back in 6:19 here on Wednesday morning. Appreciate you tuning in to Morning JOX. Conrad and Damian here with you. Recapping what happened last night, Braves get a 8-2 victory over the Colorado Rockies to continue their hot streak here as of late. Gave you an update on what's going on the NBA postseason as well. But I did tease for you that there was a team in the SEC yesterday that got some big news on the college football front, and it's a team that has high expectations this year. So I kind of want to talk about some of our expectations for them. But first, the news from Gainesville, Florida, where the reports started coming out yesterday that DJ Lagway has started working with his throwing shoulder, which was a problem for him all throughout the offseason. It was believed to be an injury that kind of no pun intended, but it kind of lagged over from his time in high school. But it was a shoulder injury, and so he wasn't able to throw this spring. So you didn't see him in the spring game. You didn't see him in any of the spring practices. And that had some people concerned, rightfully so, right, as we didn't know what the extent or the severity of the injury was going to be. But based on what we saw last year, I think we all agree that a healthy DJ Lagway has one of the highest ceilings out of all of the quarterbacks, maybe not only in the SEC, but in the entire country coming up next year. And you've seen, we talked about yesterday, on 3, one of their early top 25 rankings for the upcoming season. They had Florida at number 10. Like, Florida has been a popular, if you follow a lot of the national media and what their projections are for next year, Florida is a very popular pick, a popular dark horse playoff pick. They're in the top 25 just about anywhere that you're going to look. And like we told you yesterday, some places even going to be in the top 10. So, for Florida, getting this news about DJ Lagway, that he's working his way back, he's started throwing exercises with that shoulder. It's believed that he is 100% healthy, going to be 100% healthy when fall camp starts. There's going to be no limitations on him this season. So I guess the biggest concerns you may have had as a Florida fan, those seem to be going away, right? We are moving forward, and by the time the fall camp comes around, which is honestly right around the corner, it won't be that long, he should be 100% ready to go. And that is exactly what you need to hear if you're Florida, because this is a really big season for Florida, right? And I think they turned some heads. They impressed a lot of us last year with, I'm seriously going back to a year ago, maybe a little less than a year ago, as we got closer to the season and you had people coming out with their projections. There were people in the national media that were projecting Florida legitimately to win 3 games last year because of how difficult their schedule was. That was a real thing. And they go out there, they win 7 games, they get an 8th win in the bowl game to kind of send the season off on a high note. DJ Lagway looks like he's going to be a star. Other guys like Jaden Ball, Eugene Wilson, some of these younger cats that really stepped up and showed that there's a bright future there in Gainesville. Now is the time, right? Now is the time to continue that momentum. Last year was great, right? And I think they're in a similar situation as some other teams, like maybe even a South Carolina, right? Where it's, okay, maybe you were better than we thought a year ahead of schedule. All right, so now are you going to be able to take that in stride and continue to take another jump this year like you took last year, right? And then that's where you get into are these playoff type, are we having playoff conversations about a team like Florida late into the season? But I just thought that was really good news, what we needed to hear about Florida. The DJ Lagway is going to have a clean bill of health, and that he can be the dynamic player that we saw him be capable of last year. And now going into the season, you can really get that hype train rolling if you're a Florida fan. And so looking down for me, you look at, they have a similar schedule to what they did last year, but a lot of those matchups maybe don't look quite as difficult as they did a year ago. You are going to have to play Texas. You are still going to have to play Georgia. You have to go to Ole Miss. But right, this is an Ole Miss team you beat last year. You get a Tennessee team we're not expecting to be as good. Florida State, who knows how much better they're going to be than last year, but you should still probably be favored in that game. Miami's not going to be quite as good as they were. LSU, Florida's had good success against LSU recently, even when LSU's maybe been in a little better shape. So I think this could shape up to be a really, really special year, Damian, for the Florida Gators. And I can understand why you're going to have some people that are, on the college football playoff hype train for Florida, just because of the expectations for the potential for what they could be with a lot of their young stars.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for Florida this season is those games on the road. Last year, we were kind of in that mode of, all right, yeah, the Texas A&M game you can see being a toss-up. Like the expectation for them last year was, can they just make it through the first month of the season? Like once you get to November, you can kind of understand where they're going to be. But now when you look at the schedule this year, we'll know exactly where Florida is rather quickly. Okay, the first 2 games, you got LIU, chalk that up, that's a dub. South Florida, I think could be interesting, but I'm still going to lead the Florida Gators into that. But then as soon as that game is over, you're jumping right into conference play, and you're on the road in Baton Rouge. And then to follow that up, you're taking a trip to Miami before you get to the bye week at the end of September. So if you can manage the schedule, 3-1, possibly 4-0, before you welcome Texas into the swamp, there's no telling where those.
Oh, if you're 4-0 before that Texas game,
Texas better make sure they better know that Arch Manning is that dude. Because if not, we saw last year, like you said, they peaked a little bit earlier than expected, and LSU went down there and got hit in the mouth. Ole Miss went down there to the swamp and got hit in the mouth. So if you're 4-0 heading to that Texas game, you got to be feeling pretty good. And then you go to Texas A&M. You got Mississippi State at home before the bye week, and then the last stretch of the season in November where you got the Georgia game. You got to go to Kentucky, which you can chalk that one up. And then you got to go to Ole Miss. You welcome Tennessee at home. And then I remember a couple years ago, I didn't realize that Tennessee hasn't beaten Florida in like 20-something years. And the Tennessee team that's on paper right now does not match up well with this Florida Gators unit. And again, you wrap up the season with Florida State. So for Florida, it's not out of the realm of possibility of having a more optimistic outlook of what your season could look like. Because if DJ Lagway shows any signs of improvement from where he already was last season, you got to feel pretty good. And then Jordan Ball returning, you got Eugene Wilson, you got Elijah Badger, like the guys that are the pieces that Florida has. What we saw last season makes you feel pretty good that in 2025, that one, they're not sneaking up on anybody. 2, they actually can welcome the fist fight and also throw haymakers when they need to. The game control that they have. As long as DJ Lagway doesn't turn the ball over, you saw it against Georgia last year. He doesn't get hurt. Florida, I know there's no ifs in football, but if he didn't get hurt, Florida wins that ball game because they had the entire momentum. Carson Beck was throwing interceptions left and right. Florida had that game in control, and it felt as though it was because of what DJ Lagway was able to do with his arm and with his legs. So if you're Florida, it's not far-fetched for you to say, hey, we could possibly sneak around and make a playoff if everything goes correct. But it's going to be tough because you got to go on the road to a lot of these games, a lot of these teams. But you feel like, okay, even if they're at 100% clicking on all cylinders, it should be Florida's game to lose.
Yeah, and I do think Florida's in a position with a couple of teams that we've seen recently where if they're going to take that jump, yes, you're going to need Lagway and that offense to continue to be as good as they were at times. They're going to need to be better. But I think a lot of it also comes down to the defensive side of the ball, where there were games at times for Florida where you saw like, okay, you have like this can be a solid defense when they want to be, but you didn't have the consistency of it. And so I think that's another area for Florida, right? If you see them, this is a team that gave up 23 points a game last year on the defensive side of the ball. If this is a unit that we're talking about this year, if you get that number down from 23 to 20, right? And you're, we're taking a field goal off the board every game. What is that going to look like when it comes to your overall record? And again, just helping, having these younger guys on offense, and especially, if you do have a Lagway that's maybe a little rusty at the beginning of the year just because he hasn't had as much time to go through all of his training and things because of his shoulder injury, if that defense steps up alongside these young guys on the offensive side of the ball, I think that's where you have kind of that special recipe for Florida if they want to be a college football playoff team this year. But again, they're in a situation where you look at the games. You brought up the Georgia game, and a game that I'm right there with you. I think that Florida probably wins that game if Lagway doesn't end up going down with an injury. But you've seen yourself be able to exceed expectations last year and win some of these games. So where to now going in this year, it's not like, this is, just an insurmountable challenge, right? You've seen yourself beat LSU. You've seen yourself beat Ole Miss. Now taking down Georgia, granted, it's going to be in Gainesville. I mean, that would be a heck of an accomplishment, but that might be the kind of year we're talking about where that could be a game that maybe that's the game that would send Florida to a college football playoff, or that's the game that makes you, you're 9-3 or 8-4 now instead, which would still be a good season. But the expectations are heightened now because of the success that you accomplished last year and going 8-5. And I think Billy Napier. Now, certainly, if they have a disastrous season, yeah, I think he's right back on the hot seat. We're probably talking about a different coach there in Gainesville, but I think he's bought himself enough time, and you can finally see, for the first time, I think, since he's been there, if you're a Florida fan, and Drake and some of you other guys can chime in and let me know if I'm right about this, but you feel like things are truly headed in the right direction, and there is a sense of optimism. Whereas last year, you may have had optimism, but it was probably just because, well, you're a Florida fan. We want to be optimistic, but I don't know if anybody really saw them having the success that they did last year. So going to be fun to watch them this year. But again, Florida going to be a very popular dark horse playoff team. You're going to see them in a lot of these preseason top 25 rankings, and a lot of teams or people are going to have them even inside the top 15 and top 10 in some cases. So should be an exciting year down there in the swamp of Gainesville. See some of y'all chiming in, 205-834-9450. What are your expectations for Florida in the upcoming season? Are they that team for you out of the SEC? Are they kind of your dark horse playoff team, or your team that you think is ready to take that next jump up into the upper echelon of the conference? We want to hear from you, 205-834-9450. We'll give you some other college football news and notes and get your reactions, your thoughts. On the other side, you're listening to Morning JOX. 6:36. Welcome back in. Wednesday edition of Morning JOX. Appreciate you tuning in to us this morning. Connor and Damien here with you. Spend some time talking about Florida as we got some good news out of Gainesville yesterday about DJ Lagway and that throwing shoulder. He is back throwing yet again, expected to be 100% when fall camp rolls around. So very good news for a Florida team that is going to have the highest expectations they've had in a while, I would say, this year in the Swamp. So exciting news down there. Want to get some of your reaction. 205-834-9450 to that here in just a second. But quickly, in the world of SEC baseball, we don't talk enough SEC baseball, but we did have, if you missed it, the big news over the last couple of days was Chris Lemonis getting fired as the Mississippi State head baseball coach. Won a national championship there in Starkville. But as we all know, that is kind of their pride and joy there in Mississippi State. And unfortunately, just wasn't getting the job done anymore. And they decided that they needed to move in a different direction. And it should be no surprise to anyone that essentially all of the names on the coaching hot board to replace him are other SEC baseball coaches, or at least the majority of them are. You have Butch Thompson has been thrown out there, as Rob Vaughn has for both Auburn and Alabama, respectively. Mangione from Kentucky. His name has been thrown out there as well. Skip Johnson, the Oklahoma coach, his name has been thrown out there. You have, is it Josh Elander? He's an assistant for Vitello there at Tennessee. His name's been thrown around in the mix as well. Scott Forbes from North Carolina has been thrown out there. Wes Johnson from Georgia, again, who's done an incredible job there the last couple of years. So those are just some of the names kind of circulating to potentially head to Starkville and replace Chris Lemonis. But quickly, if you are wondering how are things going in the world of SEC baseball, so Texas leading the charge. They have a sizable lead. They are 19-2 in SEC play, 38-5 overall. They are, they're doing pretty good this year in the SEC. They've built themselves a little bit of a gap, but you do have in second place Arkansas right now. They're at 14-7 in the league. LSU at 14-7. They come in at third place. Then you have Tennessee, who started off really hot, had a little bit of a comeback to reality moment here for the last few weeks, but they're currently in fourth place at 13-8. Then in fifth place right now, as it stands, the Alabama Crimson Tide. They have a 12-9 record, and this is really good to see. Just real quick for me, because Alabama has, for the last couple of years, they've been able to do pretty well in non-conference play, and then once you get into SEC play, it's been ugly. So really good job by Rob Vaughn there coming over from Maryland and having Alabama there in fifth place. Georgia follows them at 12-9 as well. Ole Miss after that at 12-9, and then Vanderbilt also at 12-9. And then in eighth place, you do have the Auburn Tigers. They are there at 11-10, 31-14 overall on the season for Auburn. Alabama 35-10 on the season. So just two fantastic seasons. Butch Thompson doing a great job at Auburn, Rob Vaughn in Alabama. So some really good baseball here. And your reminder that 3 weeks from yesterday, actually, will be the start of the SEC baseball tournament in Hoover, which is one of our very, very favorite events here in the state of Alabama. All right, so now we go to the text lines, 205-834-9450. I know y'all have been wanting to talk about the Florida Gators. Zach chimes in. He says, good news out of Gainesville. Well, that was an oxymoron. Go Noles. All right, I like it.
Hey, I'm telling you, adding Gus Malzahn just gave them a lot of confidence. Actually, I think the subtraction of DJU is what gave them confidence.
Well, he's Harbaugh's problem now.
Yeah, for a couple days.
I would just love, because all the clips, if you saw of Harbaugh last year, fanboying over Justin Herbert on the sidelines. Like, does he talk to DJU the same way, you think?
I don't think so.
No, probably not.
I don't think so.
You don't think he goes, oh, man, I wish I could do that? Probably,
nah.
Man, I'm 50 and I could do that. That's probably what he says to DJU. So he's catching strays this morning. I'm sorry, DJ. Let's see. Drake chimes in. He says, I love my Gators. I can see them going 9-3. I hope for better, but 9-3 is not bad. Hey, if that's where we're at with the fan base, where we're like, 9-3 would be fine, I guess I'd be okay with it.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. If 9-3 is almost unacceptable, like it's right, it's the average. We're good, because we were in the dark days a couple of years ago of, oh my gosh, is Florida pretty much as soon as Billy Napier got there, it was, is Billy Napier going to survive year 2, year 1? It's like, we're here now. Like, let him build it up. Let him build it up. Just take some time. But I do think this Florida team they have reasonable expectations. And again, with all the pieces that you have, they're warranted. It's fair. I think that when Florida now, like we talked about the other day, it's now the identity has changed. We ain't got to do all the glitz and the glamour of spreading everything out. It's, we're going to run this football and y'all going to figure out how to stop it. And we'll play sound defense on the other side. So I think the identity of it took a little time to build and a little time for Florida people to adjust. But now that you got it, it's okay. Yeah, 9-3 is reasonable.
Well, and now we have somebody who's maybe not so sold on Florida yet. Tim from Coleman chimes in. He says, I think Florida is a lot like Miami and Texas A&M, perpetually overhyped and underperforming. 2025 is going to be no different. Florida is not sneaking up on anybody this year. And that is a fair point in the sense that, people know what you're working with now, right? And so that presents its own challenges, but I think that's better than the alternative, right?
Exactly.
So you would rather have that success last year and have that momentum moving forward. But yeah, that is a fair point. We talked about that earlier this week with South Carolina as well, in a similar boat of, all right, well, now that everyone knows how good you are you still that good? Or was this more of a benefit of maybe some teams, underestimating you a little bit, at least early on in the year or last year, to say the least. Let's see. Someone chimes in. They say, if Gators can go 9-3 with that schedule, I'd be impressed. I would too. I mean, it's not an easy schedule. I think it also changes our perspective on it a little bit with, I mean, I'll be honest, I was not expecting Florida to be any good last year, and I think that kind of warped how you looked at that schedule because it was just, oh man, they're not even going to have a fighting chance in some of these games. And not only did they do that, but they also, they won some of them. So, yeah, good times there in Gainesville, Florida for sure. John Mack, he chimes in. He says, oh no, it's not loading. I'm so sorry, John Mack. For some reason, it is not loading your own text message. Oh, there it is. Okay. Somebody said, is Florida going to be throwing shoes or footballs? I think it's footballs, John Mack.
Yeah, listen, that's one of the few teams that they beat last year, so I'll let them have it.
That's fair.
That's one of the few teams.
Yeah, but Florida doesn't have the Murray Milkmen, so did they really lose that game? Did they really lose?
Did they really lose?
They might have won the game, but they're winning at life, so not sorry to go all Butch Jones on y'all champions of life this morning. Let's go to the phone lines real quick. Doug's in Moundville. He wants to chime in on the Gators. What's going on, Doug?
Hey, guys. First off, I mean, you made my heart swell when you were talking college baseball. I mean, you guys might become my favorite morning show if we talk some college baseball, especially with Texas, losing their top pitcher and, their best hitter has gone down. So a lot of question marks for that team that's extremely talented.
Mm-hmm.
But college football-wise, with Florida, yes, I'm DJ Lagway, who's done great things, and he's, really excelled this past season. But a lot of questions remain of, what can this defense do that had a lot of question marks last year? Also, LSU, they're going to be an improved team.
Mm-hmm.
Miami, they're going to be improved, even though they lost Cam Ward. You have to look at what else they have on the side of the ball. Texas, we don't really know about them with Arch Manning, but Texas A&M is going to be better. And A&M on the road, LSU on the road, even though Florida may be improved, I don't really see their record improving that much. What about you guys?
Yeah, no, Doug, appreciate the call, man. No, and I mean, again, I think that's a very real possibility for Florida, right? Because of how difficult their schedule is. And that's why, for the people getting on the hype train, that is, again, I think a lot of people assuming the best case scenario for a lot of these things with Florida. This is counting on DJ Lagway to be in the Heisman conversation, I think, in a lot of people's minds. And if that happens, then yeah, I think that's where you start to see, okay, I could see Florida going 9-3 because he's the kind of guy that, I mean, some of the throws that he made last year, if he's making those consistently, he's going to win you some games by himself because that's how good he is. We just don't totally know, but I think also when you compare him to some of the other teams around the league, we have similar question marks with a lot of these guys. Like, I'll say this going into the year, I guess if I had to endorse a quarterback, I am more ready to go ahead and crown DJ Lagway than a guy like Arch Manning, based on what I've seen from Lagway versus what I've seen from Arch.
Yeah, and I would agree with you on that as well because I look at and I mean, he brings up Texas A&M. I don't think Texas A&M necessarily is going to be better than they were last year.
I think they'll be about what they were. I think they're
Right.
They're an 8-4 football team.
Yeah, they're nothing really jumps out on me, jumps out because I mean, you lose three of your best defensive players to the NFL draft,
Mhm.
and I don't necessarily think they just reload on that side of the ball. And also, I think the jury's still out on Marcel Reed because when they played Florida was ready for Connor Wigman. Like that was kind of they got a dude back there.
Yeah.
And then when teams started to see what Marcel Reed was, that's when you kind of, he was young, he was freshman. But I think the jury's still out on them offensively, and also what's their identity going to be? Because I felt like when they played Auburn, really all you had to do was just stick to what had gotten you there, and then all of a sudden they just started to aerate that thing out, and it's like this is not Marcel Reed's game. Like this ain't it. But again, Texas still have. I mean, a lot of it's just because of the name and what they've been able to do the past couple seasons. And again, it's can we wait and see it, Arch Manning? But we're going to see it early because I mean, if Florida after 4 games, you kind of know exactly where you're going to be, and then you get them at home too. You get them down there in the swamp. And you can go back to last season with LSU and Ole Miss. Like they thought it was going to be sweet when they got down there to the swamp as well, and they ended up with losses on the way out. So it's a cautious optimism for Florida, but also it wouldn't surprise me if they did, slip up here and there. But the optimism is definitely there.
Yeah, and I think the good thing is for a lot of these teams, right, for Florida, you got LSU, Miami early. So we're going to have a good idea after the first month of what we're working with. Same thing for Texas and Arch, right? That Ohio State game. Again, not saying if you have a bad outing there that, the whole season's doom and gloom, but you'll have a very good idea of I think, what that team is capable of, at least early on, just because that's where you open it. I mean, not really a better way to have a reality check than going up against the defending national champions to start the season. So we're going to learn a lot about these teams, I think, pretty early on. But y'all keep the text chiming in, 205-834-9450. We'll keep reading those when we come back, put a bow on things here on the Wednesday edition of Morning JOX.
Welcome back into Morning JOX. JOX 94.5, Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order here with you for a few more moments. As we pass you off to McElroy and Kubelik in the morning. Happy hump day. And what better way to celebrate than going to our friends at Blue Chew. And Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and Staxin in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. So what are you waiting for? Blue Chew's tablets are performance enhancement for the bedroom. It can help men gain extra confidence when it's time to perform. Turn that oh no into oh yes. Listen, you don't have to even go to the doctor. No awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy because it ships right to your door. And let me help you out. Listen, Free, that spells free. I'm trying to help you out. All you got to do is go to bluechew.com and get your first month free if you use our promo code JOX. That's JOX at checkout. The only thing you're paying for is the $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com. Promo code JOX to receive your first month free. And remember, your boy DM6 tells you, like I do all the time, just chew it and do it.
Well, you are mere moments away from McElroy and Kubelik in the morning. Greg and Cole back with you here this morning from 7 to 10. Then I will be back from 10 to 2 alongside Pat Langevin and Molly for 3-man front. And then, of course, the Paul Feinbaum show coming up for you from 2 to 6. So I will be out the next couple of days. Damian and Saber will be holding down the fort for you on Morning JOX the next couple of days. Got my last bachelor trip for a while.
Hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. That means one of my friends got divorced. So yeah, hopefully this is the last one for a while. So it's been a long time coming getting out of the wedding season. But yeah, the looks like the last bachelor trip for the foreseeable future. That's what I'll be doing this weekend. So, but yeah, you all have a good time with Damian and Saber the next couple of days. I'll be back here on Monday, hopefully if I survive. But we do have a couple more of your texts here just to wrap up the show today. Somebody, Fanboy, chimes in, and I did see a video of this. Maybe someone can give me some more context. But someone said, did y'all hear about the kangaroo? Apparently, there's a video of a kangaroo hopping down the interstate in Auburn. So I don't know if anybody, like, where it came from. Was it in somebody's backyard? Is there a...
It's kind of one of those things where you're driving down the interstate, there's, you got to be aware, but I don't know how I would react if I were to see a kangaroo. I
was about to say, I look out for deer, but...
Right, a kangaroo? That's a game changer.
I just really want to know where this is coming from. Like, where did this come from? Because again, there's not an Auburn Zoo, right? Like, it's not, unless I'm missing something there. Like, this has to be somebody that had a kangaroo,
right,
in their backyard, right, or in their whatever on their farm or something. I don't know, but
it hopped the fence.
I guess so. Do they not make electric fences for kangaroos? I don't know. That works for my neighbor's dog. But yeah, that was a interesting situation to say the least there. Let's see. Somebody says, who's going to have a better or bigger season this year, DJ Lagway or Dylan Raiola?
Oh, DJ Lagway.
Yeah, I'm going to take Lagway, I think, on that one. Jamie texted in, he says, I think the Gators will be much improved Roll Tide. So Alabama fan there. Let's see. And someone in Lee County is like, oh crap, Joey got out. That's good.